Here's the job here. We got a sunken living room. Here's Lee. Thanks for hiring West Coast, brother. Hey, Anthony here from the Best in the West. We got a job over here in Fountain Valley, California. We're doing a sunken living room, and we're going to cut that little sidewalk out right there and replace it with an old school salt finish. I don't know if guys around the country have seen that. It's an old 70s, early 80s finish. And when we mark the rebar, when we lay the rebar, we just mark it every 2 feet, so when you drop it, you can see where to put it. It just works easier for us. Everyone does stuff different. It's only like 20-foot sticks of rebar, 3/8. So we just cut them with a cutter and lay this out. This is a one-hitter quitter. We just set it up and poured it that day. And there's a lot of tricks to pouring on top of existing concrete that I'll go over in this. These are pretty basic. They're really prevalent in Orange County in California. This is like some big design in the 70s. You know, put a sunken room right when you walk in. But they're pretty basic, you know. And I got a lot of good stuff coming up. I got a huge job I'm starting Tuesday this week. So I should be posting 4, 5, 6 videos in a row of some really cool custom stuff. And I got I'm doing, people who've watched me long enough seen that concrete bench we did. And I'm going to be doing another one in Huntington. I'm just coming up with the design. I'm going to sandblast the wood that I form it with. So when you strip it, it's sandblasted. Because it's hard to sandblast vertical like that. It doesn't come out right. So we're just drilling dowels. You don't really need rebar. I mean, where's the thing going to go? It's locked in between a slab and a footing. But we just put it in there. The customers like it. And he didn't want me to pour against the drywall, so I just brought some 15 mil plastic and put it right on the chalk line. That's how we tie the rebar. We're not rod busters. We're just concrete guys. We don't do a whole lot of rebar tying. This was a big fireplace that he knocked down and pushed it back about 2 feet. It stuck out maybe 2-3 feet into the living room. So this wasn't really a usable room. No one uses them. Everyone I fill them in for says, oh, we never even use that room. So they fill them in, and he's putting carpet over it. This thing was weird because the front of the house kind of settled, so the elevations were different. And he's putting carpet on it, so we just matched the elevations, and I went to the top of the fireplace where they put it. And I'm back full steam ahead now. The economy was tripping me out. It was really hard to read. When they raised the interest rates on the house, I thought it was going to just be an 08 and dump. And it looked like people were just holding their money tight and watching what was going on since Thanksgiving. And now it's just, my phone's going nonstop. I have so much stuff booked where I'm going to pump out some really good videos and some real interesting stuff and custom stuff. And people it's for a customer base, basically. My videos are to get work. And then if people are into concrete and guys watch it and learn stuff, that's cool too. Originally I did them for my kids, but I couldn't even pay them now to watch one. I don't even watch them myself. I don't watch much YouTube, period. But I like putting videos up. It's such a marketing tool. I've noticed that people are texting me. A lot of guys are putting concrete, getting into the genre of concrete, which is good. It's a good idea, man. All you guys out there, young guys been doing it. You don't have to pay for marketing and advertisement stuff because it's big bucks. You know, it seems expensive. I've never done it in my life, but I heard just some of the prices, and I was like, dang. So it's a win-win. You put it up for your family, your kids, your friends could watch what you do, and then you get customers off of it. It's a win-win. So we didn't shoot this with a laser or nothing. We just went off the floor behind Javier and the existing floor in the fireplace. And this is an old school salt finish where you put salt on it and hit it in with the trowel, and it leaves like little pits in it. It was the before a broom finish style of concrete. So we're just going to cut that piece off. It was crowned up right there. I thought there was going to be a root there, so I brought an axe, but it just crowned and heaved like that. I don't know why. Pretty expansive soil, though, in Fountain Valley, Huntington Beach, in my area, Costa Mesa. You know, I thought I was going to be sitting on the bench. I thought the economy was really going to slow down, but there's money flowing around. I had a big job out of town about 4 hours away in Joshua Tree, and it was all booked, ready to go, and then they got squirrely with the money, so I just pulled out, and I booked a big one in San Pedro. It's a big driveway, garage floor, patio, a curb against the house, the front entryway is a side. I'll be there about a week. I mean, there'll be like 4 videos off that one, really good ones. I'm stretching out here. ready to pump. Out here, pumps are vital. You can't even be in the concrete unless you have a pump, because nothing's really accessible. You really don't come up and shoot pour stuff, because the chutes only go 18 feet and nothing's 18 feet. I mean, stuff is just stacked on top of each other out here. There's no room. The backyards are 36-inch access. Sometimes they have RV parking with a barn door, and you could get any tractor back there. But I've demoed, like, I don't know, probably 50 pools, probably maybe more, maybe 100. And I use the S70. I crawl it in the backyard. I break the shelf off. I get a base, make a ramp. I crawl down in it and break it out that way, or I do it from the top. But you demo pools here with an S70. The pumps are vital. There's no guy out here that doesn't have their concrete pumped, because there's literally nowhere to place it. I mean, you're going to run a wheelbarrow up there, which is ironic. Down the street, 2 doors down across the street, those guys wheelbarrowed 7 yards, and it took them like 2 hours. It was insane. I went down there and filmed them. I put the camera on. I'm like, what are you guys doing? I got a pump right there. Give me $400. I'll blow it down before my job. And they didn't want to do it. I go, all right, whatever. They were like literally across the street and over one house. And here's the plastic I brought just to put around the drywall. There's 2 walls that are exposed with drywall. And somebody told Lee, he was a really cool guy. Shout out to Lee, that they don't, moisture gets into the drywall. So I just put it up for him because that's what he wanted. I generally don't worry about it, but sometimes I've used metal, sometimes I've used plastic if they're really adamant about it. But if you pour it right, the trick is you got to use accelerant when it's on top of concrete, because the only issue you're going to have is the bleed water. There's nowhere for it to bleed, and there's like a phenomenon with concrete. It's sand, cement, rock, and water, and the water rises to the top. That's the bleed water, and it sits, and then it dissipates and bleeds through and goes down into the ground. But when it's on concrete, there's nowhere for the water to go. So you got to use a 2% accelerant and pump it really dry. And the way I did this, there was no bleed water, 0. And I've had some wet loads on accident they brought me when I did these, and I was screwed for 5-6 hours. Just, bull floating it back towards us and getting a sponge and getting the water off. It turns into a complete circus act. We're just cutting this 6 inches to put around the drywall. But the economy seems to be doing good. I grew up at the beach, so my whole life I've been in the water. That's basically been my girlfriend my whole life. I've been married. I was married for 20 years, but the beach has always been my girlfriend. That's where I go every day. And there's an onshore breeze. The waves are 5 to 6 feet, and you want me to do what? I don't have to work all the time because of my margins, but I'm gonna go really gangbuster it this summer so I can do some cool stuff. And I didn't bring my tractor because I didn't want to go up the stairs and across his lawn. And when you see how much of this we take out, it's insignificant to bring a tractor. I would have if we were doing more and just crawled it up over the stairs and brought it back here. But I just had this guy sledge it out. He was no habla inglés, and he was hitting it with that sledgehammer, and I was out front. I didn't notice it. I go, dude, I got 2 big sledgehammers in my truck. He was using like a little handle, and I'm like, what are you doing? Because we had the truck coming at 9:30 or 10, and we started about 8. I just will called it to my buddy Johnson and said, hey, I'll call you when I'm an hour out. And they showed up right when we were done. We just got to put a little form on it. We went to Home Depot and got a bag of salt that you use in your water softener, and that's what we put on top. And you just kind of tap it in and smash it into the concrete and then hose it off the next day or whatever, and it leaves like that, those little pits in it. It was like the main finish they used out here in the 70s and the 80s, and then they came up with broom and stamping and sand wash finishes and stuff like that. See, I didn't want to take the tractor up that and go on the guy's grass when it was only that much. I just pumped it. My yard's like a mile or 2 away from this house, so I brought my pump back, grabbed my trailer, and then threw the concrete and all the stuff back in it. But I'm going to be bringing 2 trucks to the other jobs, one with the pump, one with the tractor. You guys will really enjoy the next job I'm doing in the job we're doing on it. It's all bands on it, and I'm doing 2-tones on it. It's really good. So here's the map out the concrete. This is Johnson's buddy. You guys have seen him. I guess Johnson's got a Hemi or something. That's why he's not driving. I don't know. He's got 2 trucks. You'll see how stiff we pour this, and it's vital to do it that way if you're pouring on top of a slab. With the soils and the conditions and no humidity here, and the way it is, you don't have to pour really stiff concrete here like on slabs and stuff. It goes off perfect. The timing's perfect. It can never take off ahead of you. But when you're pouring on top of a slab, yeah, you really can't mess with it, because that bleed water is just unbelievable. It happened to me in one of the videos. I don't remember which one. They brought it out too wet. So we'll pump this prime into a wheelbarrow, so we don't put the water in the house in the slab. We just put the wheelbarrow outside, and then we'll throw it back in the pump or whatever when I wash out. That's why pumps are so good, because when you have like stuff like that, you can just throw it in the pump when you're washing out and get rid of it all. That's how much hose I had to. It didn't quite reach outside, but it reaches all the way around inside. But I'm not putting another hose on to pump that. We got Junior doing most everything. I got Javier with me. I've trained a lot of guys pumping and demoing and stuff, and you know, they always say, oh yeah, Anthony showed me how to do that. He showed me everything he knows, whatever. But I showed them everything they know, not everything I know. There's stuff I don't show people that I do. Just a couple, you know, some things took me years. But if you want to learn how to pump or run a tractor or a business, I do consulting, or you have plans, you want me to run your job, whatever. I get a lot of calls for that kind of stuff too. Everyone I've ever worked around, hundreds of guys, I've been a step above, except Javier. He has virtues I don't have. I have virtues he doesn't have. I'm really good at measuring it and the material and talking to the customer and the money. And there's stuff I can't do that guy is unbelievable. What he knows. Elevations and stuff, he's so good at it, it's crazy. We don't need a laser, none of it. We do foundations, all kinds of stuff. Stairs, whatever. That dude knows the elevations off the bubble. When we did the bench in Huntington Beach, that one bench we did, concrete bench, he did the backrest at 22 degrees off the level where the bubble was. I go, what's that degree at? I mean, how do you know? He goes, it's 22%. And I'm like, I sat in it and I was like, whoa, that's perfect. I don't question. I assume he knows what he's doing, so I don't really, him and I don't argue. We've never had an argument. I've known him, I've worked with him off and on for 15 years probably. And his brother worked for me prior. And his brother-in-law, Arturo, they're both insane. All three of them are the best of the best. They're all quiet. They all work real hard. They're real soft-spoken. They're cool, really cool, good guys. There's a slump we're using. It's pretty stiff. I put a short up on it, and when you see it come out of my pump, and people say it's a 2 or a 3, but it's more like a 4.5 probably. But there's no bleed water on this one when they get out there and skate. It blows up. You know, you got to cook it with barely any water in it, and plus with the accelerant driving into the job, and it's friction and heat in the drum, and get it a little hot, and then barely just enough to get through your screen, and then let it rip. It was really nice concrete. The sand was really good. I use sifted sand on my mixes, and it's completely different. It just trails like butter. But the finish, I didn't have to on this. Like, I left fly ash in it because I was going to pump it so stiff, and it pumps better with fly ash. So I just put it in it. Why pay the extra? But if it's outside, I won't do it because it doesn't bleach correctly. Here's the slump we're using. Pretty stiff. You can pump anything with this pump. This pump will pump trash if you take the screen off. Throw the trash can in it, it'll pump it. This thing's bad. People don't understand what a ball valve is, and there's no reason to use 3/4 rock. It's the most expensive real estate in the world down here, and they don't, all their concrete at their mansions isn't cracked, and they don't use 3/4. They're not going to walk up and buy a $40-50 million house with all cracked concrete. It's absurd. So people will write that, oh, this is going to crack this or that. No, you're a dummy. I've been doing this over 20 years. And you should see the jobs I poured 4 or 5 years ago. They still look pristine. I'll film any one of them. It's people don't know what they're doing. Just like these guys in these other states that freeze and stuff and say you can't steal trowel. I'd have to disagree with that because, I mean, you've seen the level of the work they're putting up now. So 30, 40 years ago, when people were learning how to do it, imagine how bad they were back then. And they told them, "Oh, you can't steal trout because they're not good. They don't know when to get on it. They're getting on it too early and trapping the water." Because I poured the Alpine Zoo in Big Bear. You can look it up. I pulled the permits. I poured the whole new zoo. It's privately owned, and we poured in the freeze in Big Bear, and we seal trouted it, the whole zoo. So, but we know how to get on it. We're not trapping the water. You got to let it bleed and catch it when it's all the way bled out, and then you got to get down on it. You know, but they don't know how to do it. But I'm pretty sure you can steal trout because, in theory, if you're gonna worry about trapping the water and it's gonna spawn and the top's gonna freeze and pop off, why are you using a magnesium float which seals it? You'd be using a wooden bowl float, and then you use a magnesium float and do your piss wet broom on top of it and go. But that's not the case. They're using a magnesium bowl float and magnesium floats on it and say, "No, we can't steel trawl it." Well, you're sealing it already. But they get on it way wet, broom it wet. We get on everything late. We wait till you can really get out there and skate it. So it's a big difference. But if you look at all the tools and you go to our concrete shops here and look, if you're doing custom steps or a different thing, there's no tool. They'll make it for you right there. That's why these guys have all this stuff. All this stuff's made out here and invented out here. Because the houses, concrete's a big deal aesthetically out here. It'll jump the house of these mansions just through the roof. You know, it's not just concrete. In other places, they think, it's concrete. Now I'm looking at this stuff going, that looks terrible. They couldn't work in Orange County is what I'm saying. Not even close. Maybe as finisher helpers or laborers, but they wouldn't be in a finishing group. But there's thousands of finishers out here in groups, and they pour for different contractors 6 days a week. They go out in groups of them. So that's why they're as good as they are. That's what they do every day. The guys Javier brings in on our pour days, they only finish 6 days a week. They don't work for a company. They're freelancers. They go they go finish concrete for other guys. Like, hey, you'll call one of them that you know, just for example, hey, Javier, I need you and 4 finishers on Friday. Okay, and he books them. And if they vouch for him and bring them, you know if they're flying in their group, they're A+. It's not like these YouTubers on here and the stuff that they do. You wouldn't get away with it out here. And it's not bagging on anyone or saying, I'm not putting anyone down. I'm just telling you there is different levels to it. And when you see the best of the best and you pump like I have, you've seen stuff that's just mind-boggling. It's so good. But I take pride in what I do, and I strive to try and be the best at whatever I do. And I circle myself around people who are nobody who's a hack or even half-fast can step foot on my job, and they know it. I'll weed them right out. Like, for instance, there'll be 8, 9 finishers. Like, I got a crap load of them out there, and I'm not even paying attention. Javier is watching me, and then they'll leave, and I'll say, hey, that guy in the white shirt was lacking, and he smiles. He knows I know, and I'm not even paying attention. But it's not real hard work when you have a bobcat and a breaker you obviously need for demo, and then you pump it and grade it with the tractor, and then place it. All you need is A1 finishers. There's guys out here, paper contractors, that are millionaires. I'm going to get an A engineering license in a couple months, and I could be a paper contractor. That's the license they have for the freeways and the bridges and all that. And the streets, you can close the street and cut the street, and I'll have that license in 2 months, and I'm going to bid big stuff and just sub that and keep doing what I'm doing here. You could run it from your phone inside your car. You just sub it out, find the right people. I know tons of people, they'll take the job. I get $1 million job. I know people who do it for $800,000. I got connections all over because my name's always been money. I've never screwed anyone. I've never not paid anyone. That's just the way I am. Even if no one would have known, it's just not who I am. I would never do that. There's no one out there that can say I didn't pay him or I didn't treat him right. I've gotten some fights with guys on jobs, but that's just, going rate. It is what it is. I'm not taking any crap when I'm out there, especially when I was a pumper and they want to run their mouth and, hey, pump, hey, this, hey, that. I'll just drop the hose, dude, and say, you better watch what you're saying, dude. You're going to get laid out. And you have to make a name. It was like the Wild West, dude. These guys are, it's not the most educated, sophisticated, cosmopolitan people you're working around. Nice people. There's a lot of great people, and I'm not judging anyone. I'm in the same industry. But I'm saying I'm around a lot of wealthy people. A lot of people I deal with and hire me are wealthy. And they've watched me on YouTube, and they've watched I'll say, who else did you watch? And they'll say, I watched a bunch of videos. And I say, who were they? And they say, they don't even know. That's how memorable. They don't say, oh, this guy had more subs than you, I'm going to hire him. I bid this thing double than a guy on YouTube. I mean, more, over double. 500 over double. And look who's doing it. They don't look at that crap. I don't go on YouTube to try and get, oh, look how many subscribers I have. I get noticed when I go places. I'm not trying to get noticed. I don't really care. You know, I'm doing it for I'm making so much money off the jobs I get. That's why I do it. It's the best marketing tool. It's dialed. All the legwork's done. They come to you. You're not paying and going out bidding against 3 or 4 other people. This guy had the other YouTuber and me bid it. Called me back and said, dude, I was all over you right when I saw you. Right on. Right when I walk up, they go, oh, you're the guy. Before you, I'm like, I'm the guy, huh? Yeah, I could tell right when you walked up. It's the way. It's not cockiness. When you get to a certain point of experience, that it's from experience. And you know, I'm not here to try and patronize people, and I'll just tell them straight out. Here's the price. You want me to do it? Cool, man. I'm not cavalier or nothing about it or being rude. Here's the finish here. You just sprinkle the salt on it. You just get it at Home Depot. It's for like a water softener, and you just tap it in there like Milton's doing here. I've rarely done this finish because it was already bye-bye the year I started. It was already gone. I mean, I've done it before, and some people request it, and I just say, that's an old school finish. Let's just broom it. You know, when I started out, it just leaves like little pits in it. I guess it was so it wouldn't be slippery because it was before the broom. So there was no, people were probably taking diggers because they just hard troweled it and split. So here's the finish. See there? There's no bleed water on it at all. Because we just pump this stuff as dry as we go through the screen. The driver was complaining, wanted me to add water because he had to keep banging the screen, but we would have been here for hours and I had to get out of there. It's like 80-degree day. It's beautiful. The beach was just... I'm going to be filming down at the Wedge when I'm body surfing down there. It's one of the best. Check out the Wedge in Newport Beach on YouTube. That's the break I hit. It's one of the most unique breaks in the world. I've been going out there since I was probably 8 or 9 to the Wedge. And if I'm just chilling, I go to Newport or Huntington, ride my bike around. I put fins on the handlebars. I'll just jump out and catch some waves and come back. Look at Junior go. This kid has gotten so good, it's crazy. I got to be honest, I didn't think he had it when he first started, but I was wrong. I admit it. Javier's outside just troweling that thing. I always make him take it easy on it because he does so much for me. You know, I like kicking him extra money and stuff too because the dude does all kinds of stuff. There's the final product there, man. Pretty simple. If you guys got sunken living rooms, fill them up with concrete. Piece of cake. Have a good one, man.